it's incredibly green. So I think at first you may sort of think, oh, there's no drought here.
So although it looks very green.
Once children are in such severe malnutrition, it's incredibly hard for aid to come to pull them out of that. We just spoke to a farmer now who last year lost all his crop to the floods and then was forced to go and work in the mines, which is the first time he's ever had to do that, in order to provide for his family. They still really understand the importance of education. They think that's the only way in which they can pull their children out of the cycle that they've been living in. The way that Oxfam works here is actually through cash transfers.
When you come away from something like that and witness that, Bonnie, are you depressed? Are you invigorated? Are you charged to help them, or do you feel defeatist?
I think you're definitely charged to help them. I think when you hear these people's stories firsthand within the epicentre of this issue, you very much can only be inspired by their attitude towards their life. All the people I met were incredibly sort of upbeat and hopeful towards a better future for their children. So I think you're empowered by their sort of amazing sort of people, that you realise that we have to take their voice and carry that back to England, and that's why I went, really, to come back and share the stories.
And how can you help them?
Well, there's kind of, at the moment, David Cameron is, this week, is having a hunger summit in which he's kind of gathering lots of world leaders to bring up this subject of hunger that's very much kind of being pushed aside. So I think, obviously, there are donations that you can give to the Sahel crisis, but there's also, I think, what's even louder sometimes than money is people's voices, and by pushing your own government to put this into their agenda is almost more powerful. It's a much more global and bigger effect it could have.
What were you expecting to find? Presumably you had no previous experience of visiting a third world country like this in these conditions, and what did you actually find?
Yeah, I think nothing can prepare you for trips like this. I think I was surprised at the humility of these people that had literally nothing, and there was never one word of negativity or complaint in their situation. It was all words of sort of hope, and this solidarity they had in the community was pretty much their survival line. You know, they all survived off the friendship and kind of generosity of their neighbours. So if one family was suffering that week, they would sort of go and knock on the door of the neighbour, and they would help each other out. So I think that was the most inspiring thing for me, just the humanity of the people. And I think at first, like I said in the video, it looked incredibly lush, the sort of countryside of Senegal. However, underneath that greenness, there is this very unstable weather, which is flash floods and then drought. So their crops are just kind of, this is why they're in this state of malnutrition, because their crops are either dried out or sort of just washed away. So you've got to find a different type of crop, or a sustainable crop, or better farming methods. That's the thing. You think with all the development of agriculture and science we have, surely there's an answer.
And how hard is it when you see people like that, you know, face to face, and they're in desperate need? Is there a sense that you feel quite powerless because there's nothing that, in a sense, you can do when you're there immediately, is there? Yeah, definitely. Obviously, when you're talking to these people, and however much you're trying to sort of gain a sort of picture of what it's like to live like this, it's incredibly hard for you to feel as though you're kind of can help them directly. And every time I spoke to someone, all I ended with our discussion was, you know, I really want to take your story back to England and let it be heard, because, you know, the places that we went to were so incredibly remote. You just feel, and this is just one example, where I went is just one example of such a great issue. So I think that's the most powerful thing, really, is taking their story and letting their voice be heard.